All right, guys, I'm really geeked for this next episode of the Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Master Chris Malarkey, fifth degree black belt in traditional Taekwondo. I'm again joined by another special guest. I don't know how we keep bringing on these amazing people, but before we go any further, I want you to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button located somewhere on your screen so I can continue bringing you this awesome content. Without further ado, there's really not much I can say really to introduce this next guest. Brother of the late hip hop producer, probably the greatest of all time, at least in my book, the late James Yancey, aka J Dilla. I have his brother here, John Yancey, aka Illa J, who's joining me on the other side of the screen this afternoon. And I really, really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it, man, for sure.
Oh man, this is I'm trying to contain my smile. I really don't know how I got here. We were talking just before this interview started, before I hit that record button. I told you I don't, some things you just wake up and you're like, hey, I'm going to be talking to such and such later. It just didn't make any sense almost, but I'm really grateful to have you here. So obviously, my background is martial arts, and you had expressed just a little bit before we started, which surprised me that you actually did martial arts as well in your time. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, actually, like specifically Taekwondo. So like, I was always into extracurricular activities coming up, and actually, I thank my parents for that. I learned specifically from Taekwondo, though, I learned discipline, and I was able to apply that into all the other sports I played. It really played a big part of my life at that time, and you could even ask my moms about this. There was a time where, because I don't know at the time, I don't know what happened at the time, but maybe one of the payments didn't go through or whatever. But I couldn't get my next belt or something. It was something that happened, and I was like super upset about that. And then this was like around the time where I was getting into basketball too. So it was like I wasn't able to finish off my you know what I mean? Like it discouraged me because I was going so hard at it, and because I couldn't get that one belt. Right. I stopped there or whatever, but like I said, I was busy with other sports and stuff. But like I said, it played a big role in, like, honestly, I really learned some dope discipline from Taekwondo, like the martial arts. Like that was like the one thing that I took from was the discipline.
That's beautiful. I really I resonate with that. Obviously, being an instructor, and I'm glad to hear that you've had those experiences, even though they were years ago. It's still the fact that it still has some kind of relevance to your life today and helping you. And you're obviously a hip hop producer. You make a lot of music, and to hear that you can still make use of something that's not just physical. You can take the principles out and use it in your professional life is really, really dope. What specifically about martial arts was appealing to you? Was it something that caught your eye? Like, was it kicking? Was it the sound the uniform made? Was it like friends were doing it? Like, how did it work out for you?
I mean, I'm gonna be real, man. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan growing up, man. That was like he was a superhero, you know what I mean? So it's like if you came up under that, you already know, like, Bruce Lee was just he was his own vibe. So like it was one of those things, you see a Bruce Lee movie, like afterward you want to do martial arts because it was just like, and it was how he was about it too, because he don't just use it for, because he's not about violence, but it's just more like the situation and he could handle himself, you know what I mean? So it kind of started with that, but then again, like I said, I was always in sports. So, and sports is a big part of how I still live my life. Like basketball, that became my love, like basketball. So even today, when I'm having conversations about my music career, I always use basketball as an analogy, you know what I mean? When I'm talking about people collabing together as far as, teammates and things like that, I still see everything like basketball. So like, because like I said, like musician, I'm definitely a musician at heart, and, you know what I mean? But in my mind, it's like I'm on the basketball court. It's the craziest thing, but like, I really love, like I said, I love the discipline of sports, and I just like the challenge of sports, because like my personality is the type that I'll get bored if I'm not challenged. So it's just like, I think, sports is really good for me, and it helped me to, like I said, I apply that to my career. So even though I'm a musician, I apply work ethic the same as an athlete does. You know what I mean? We're working on different parts of my game. You know what I mean? Things like that. So it's like it's a big deal to me, man. Because I really respect athletes. I think that people overlook, like, you know what I mean? These are some of the hardest working people in the world. Like, it's like, it's not like, yeah, well, you just play basketball. it's like, yeah, and I work out all year, work, and I go to practice. Like practice is harder than the games, low key.
Right.
You know what I mean? If anything, it makes the games easier. So,
Right.
but yeah, like not to go all into that, but like honestly, that's a big part of me.
That's a great direction because, you know, again, this podcast, the second half of this podcast, as I'm going into the episode 11 to 20, is really I took a different direction, supposed to just talking about just people who do martial arts. I had an idea. I had a sensation of trying to talk to different people who are in different fields that might be able to relate to martial arts, but haven't been necessarily involved as far as long as I have. I've been doing this 30 years. So for me to do, you know, you're going to have different conversations with different people from different walks of life. And the fact that you're, you know, an amazing hip hop producer, I've been listening to you. I caught on to you, just to go backward a little bit. I caught on to you. I hit you. I got your brother around 2008. So I was there, like, you know, really at the tail end. So, you know, I never call myself like a J Dilla fan per se. I'm like, really, like, I just love his music. But I think I caught on to that album you did. I think it was called Yancey Boys. And I mean, I'm real, like, I went all the way back. I'm talking like I still remember walking around college listening to you, and I was like, yo, this is dope. It was a great synthesis of, you know, work that your brother had done, and then sort of like direction that you kind of wanted to go as well. And I think it harmonized real well. And I guess that was also maybe the start of your music career. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so pretty much the start was a little bit before Yancey Boys, but I'll just say, like, I actually started, so the first song I recorded was with my brother when I was like 13. Like, you know, that was my first time recording in the studio. But again, I don't, as someone that really does this, I don't count that. I just count that as a one-off session with my bro. And then when I was like, after, I would say it was in college before my brother passed, when I realized when I was in college that, you know, because I was skipping class and just going to the CD store, buying CDs, and in my apartment listening to music. And then, you know what I mean? And it's starting to click to me, like, maybe I should be doing music, because, which is crazy for me to think that now, because it's so crazy for me to be, you know, it's hard, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to think of myself not doing music. So it's like, at that time though, you know, and again, like, this was so dope about, you know, the connection with martial arts, like I said, with the whole mindset thing, right? So it's all it was a mindset, and I was holding myself back because I was looking at it like, well, we already have one successful person in the family in that field, you know what I mean?
Right.
And especially in the 90s and, you know, the era I grew up in and shit, it's like, it's harder to get into certain industries, and, you know, as opposed to, I feel like today it's a lot easier. And I'm just saying, it was not like that when I came to the game, where you could literally just press a button and put out an album. So it's it's a lot of access to really get out there. So I'm actually thankful that when I came into the industry, it was not saying that you don't have steps now, but it was a lot more steps to get in. You know, and you really had to show and prove.
I think the advent, and to speak to that, I think the advent of technology, I think if you have a smartphone with you, you essentially are an entrepreneur at all times, right? Or you can be, right? It's what connected me and you, right? Just to be blunt, like, if I didn't, you know, before, I was just thinking about, I literally thought about this morning. How would I have connected with some of the people I've had here? Because, you know, I'm in Belleville, New Jersey, in my house, in my Taekwondo studio that I made. But, you know, how would I have been able to reach out to you, you know, 15 years ago? Because you're not that much older than I am. You're actually born the day after me, but 2 years before. I'm on the 12th.
Oh, wow.
13th. So we're like brothers, you know.
Wow, dope.
It's really cool. It's like, you know, I probably would have to call an agent. I would have to speak to them, you know, set up a meeting, a phone call. And now it's like, you could really just hit the person directly. So I think technology's kind of taken out a lot of those, maybe those jobs that were in the intermediary. But you know, nonetheless, grateful to be here and hear about, like, all your endeavors with the basketball. I want to just kind of reference back to you. You're mentioned in this book by Dan Charnas, so shout out to him. I think he did really did a great job. I really I think something that was missing for me, which is part of also why I'm having this interview with you, is kind of just exploring, like, all the different perspectives about the man, because there have been so many things said. And I'm not one to listen to what's said. I really loved that this was like sort of investigative journalism. Like, I spoke to this person, they said this. but they didn't say if they remembered this or not. Like, that's dope. Like, okay, now we can have that, you know, and I'm sure you appreciate it way more because this is your actual brother and his legacy and all the other things, you know, that come along with that. That you're associated with. You guys actually look so crazy alike too. Like, it's great. Like, I feel like I'm talking to. It's the closest thing I could ever get to talking to him, right? Like,
I mean, that's what's trippy though.
Hopefully, I can compliment. No, but it's really fascinating to hear that you had the basketball background, because in this book, as Dan was writing, he was like mentioning how serious you were about that, and I was like, I assumed, okay, well, everybody in the family is going to be like just a whole line of musicians, and you were sort of like maybe the black sheep. Am I wrong on that?
Well, it's like I was like I'm like, that's what I'm saying. In the craziest way, I'm the full-on alien. You know what I mean? So it's like of the family. Realistically, it's like James is known, right?
Right.
But you know, it's a lot of talent. Like my sister is a really good writer. Like
Martha.
It's a lot of musical and just art, like just creative talent, you know what I mean, in my family. And for me, I'm really like the sponge in the middle of all of it. So it's like my brother Earl, he's a really good artist. Like he's like really, you know, actually that's my wife's art. You know, I'm actually in her art studio right now.
Oh, beautiful. Shout out to your wife, man. Shout out to your wife.
Art. Yeah.
Please, shout out. Amazing.
But like my brother Earl, he was a really good artist. And then, you know, obviously I had James in the basement. My sister, she's a really good poet. My dad, he's singing jazz with my mom. So it's like, I'm literally I'm just a sponge in all of this. So it's like, you know, it's weird to say, but technically I can take it the furthest because I have the most from everybody. And honestly, I feel like I'm really honestly just starting to show people what I can do. I feel like I've only really showed people a limited view of myself for the first part of my career. So it's like, I'm excited now because like this is the first time in my career where I feel fully confident, just completely 100% doing me and not caring if it relates to if it's close to what people expect from me. You know what I mean? I'm just more like, well, this is what comes out. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And it's dope to be in that place. But yeah, I think I went off topic a little bit.
No, you're good. No, listen, we're gonna go all over the place because there's so many things to talk about now. I know your listeners are super interested in hearing about you. I always envisioned I'd have some kind of conversation with you, and I'm still, you know, shocked that we're making it happen. Why do you think that your brother, being like, I guess you said he was the guy that made it, do you think that you were in his shadow at any point, you know, in terms of like what he was able to do? Was it like, oh, okay, here comes his brother to tag along and try to bring the legacy forward? Or was it more like you were just genuinely interested in music, but I also got this other interest in basketball, but I also got this other interest in this other stuff? Because you seem very multi-elemental, which again harkens back to martial arts, right? I always tell my kids, you know, students and everything else, we don't just use one subject all day long. You don't just do math all day. You got to do math, and then at some point you got to use your communication skills. At some point you got to be able to, you know, so you bring in different elements all over the place. So I feel like maybe you could speak a little bit to that in terms of maybe what was happening, I guess, toward I guess picking up the mantle, if you will. Did you have to do any of that when he passed?
Also, for me, like as far as like the whole shadow thing, so I'll start with that. It's like, now I realize it's just like in the weirdest way, that's just an illusion. It's like the whole shadow thing is just an illusion. And it took me time to realize that, because it's like, you know, as long as people say it or whatever, and I believe it, then it's like it's only real if I believe it, right? You know what I mean?
Mindset.
So it's like, but realistically, James Yancey is a super talented, successful musician who is now a legend in his own right. And John Yancey is his own musician in his own right, doing his own thing. So it's just more like, in the media, it's just the media's way of connecting the dots.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned. It's like nothing personal. It's just more like, okay, well, the human brain works like that. So it's like we name shit to remember it.
Right.
So that's J Dilla. He looks like him, has a similar name.
Yeah.
What else? You know what I mean? So it's just like, so like I said, as I get older, I understand certain things. I take stuff because it's just what it is. When you're younger, you take everything a lot more personal because you're trying to make it. Right. You're just like, I want people to know that, you know what I mean? But it's like, honestly, I feel like the older I get, like as long as I focus on me and just get better at my craft, then that's the way to naturally build respect. And that's in any industry, in any craft. If you just I don't know, just quality repeated over and over and over, it automatically garners respect. You know what I mean? At some point, people's gonna be like,
yes,
why would I front on it?
Turn your attention here. Yeah. Do you believe in like energy? Because when I always use the key word there for me that I always use, which I feel very much about my practice, how I teach it, because it's taught a billion different ways. But quality is what I always talk about. Always doing things with quality. Can you speak to the quality standard that you're talking about? Like, what is it? Can you unpack that? Like, the quality of your music is the quality of your work ethic. How does quality attract people? And from your perspective.
So yeah, like you said, it's in everything, because like in a sense, like everything is a reflection of everything. So it's like not only is my music a reflection of me, what I post is a reflection of me, how I dress is a reflection of me. So you got to be careful of the energy that you put out, because then that's what you attract to yourself. It's like and again, I hate to speak on that, but it's like it's a lot of and I'm not saying all, but it's a lot of young rappers that. And I understand what they're talking about, the struggle that they're talking about, and things that they talk about, but they don't realize that they're attracting these situations to themselves. You know what I mean? Because energy is real. Like people don't understand. And thought energy, like energy in general, is real. So you put that out there. You know what I mean? It's
alignment, if you will,
sitting there and disappear. It's going to go somewhere and bounce off of this and that. So it's like, that's why. And then again, music is a very powerful thing. I think. It's something that's so powerful and people don't even understand its power. That's why if more people understood the power of energy, then you would realize you wouldn't put certain energy into music, because music is something like, it's literally moving. It's energy. It's literally energy. You know what I mean? So it's like 3 minutes of moving energy. I can't explain it, but that's literally what music is. It's like a spell of energy. You know what I mean? So it's like, so it's so important that you put in the right energy in that. But then going back to my point, is speaking about quality, all I'm saying is that for straight up, my strategy is this. So I see myself as a producer. So I make sure that my page looks like a producer. You know what I mean? Like I show you with my equipment, I'm showing you I'm working, I'm producing stuff, I'm putting out product, and eventually just, and just copying it over time. And then now when I look at articles, they say singer, producer, rapper. You know what I mean? Right. So it's just like, you just have to prove over time. And I just think that's the best way, because I think when you're younger, you just thinking now. And I realized, like, as I get older, I just have more patience and understand that everybody has a different timing. Timing is everything, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's important to go through the phase where you feel people aren't appreciating you, I guess, you know what I mean? Because you build the toughest skin during that time. So that way, when you get to that point, you ready for all of that stuff. It's just what it is. You need to go through stuff in life. It's not going to be you know what I mean? It's not just going to be a straight
not a linear path, right?
Hair spins and all kind of stuff. But all that stuff makes you who you are. Like, that builds character. So it's like, yeah.
You got the Bruce Lee feel to you, man, when I talk to you. You got that Bruce Lee energy about you as we talk about this. So this guy's like a philosopher too. Let me find out, But no, I get a very genuineness about you. I've always had that. I've watched your page for a long time. Since I think whenever Instagram was made or whatever, I was like looking for, specific people, because you talk about energy. And I'm going to ask you another interesting question in a second. I even think about, I'm conscientious of even who I follow, because that's also energy too. Like, what am I feeding myself back today when I go scroll through that timeline? I want a little bit of business stuff. I want positivity. I don't want to see, all the mass shootings and stuff like that. And that, yes, that stuff's, good to be aware of in the state of our country, obviously. But, it's like, I think you're absolutely right. What you attract, you are completely responsible for what you attract and what happens in your life. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Like, it's, for example, like, you'll have people that's in the really high position, right? And then now you have someone who's attracting all types of energy, right? And again, you got, it's just what it is. You have to be aware that it's like okay, it's honestly, it's a good example. It's like a lot of young rappers, they pop, and then now, like, it's not about whether he's a good dude or not. Like, he's a good dude. But I'm just putting it in the scenario. So it's like, you got, yeah, he's a good dude, but he got, he got 7 chains on, he in the Phantom and flossing on people every day. Okay, cool. But then you got these dudes over here, they never had nothing. Right. They not used to nothing. They had a troubled past. Their parents not there. Okay, so you just flossing in their face all the time. Flossing in their face all the time. So it's like
interesting.
Yeah. So what happens is you put yourself in these situations where, yeah, you successful, but now it's more than successful. Now you're a target. Now you just put a target on your back. And again, that's just something that anyone that comes from the hood just knows. It's just what it is. You know that it's people in certain positions that it's like, it's just weird. They offended by that. Now, right. I'm not saying that you live your life depending on other people's energy and any of that, but all I'm saying is that it's a certain way to present yourself where it's like, because you gotta, like, it's like you showing success. It's like, yo, I want to inspire somebody, right? But I don't want them to feel like I'm saying that I'm better than them.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
No, you have
I'm the same as you. I just found out the right path to get to my destination. And then maybe your destination is different. You get what I'm saying? Because it's like, I feel like that whole, because again, I hate to be the typical, the material stuff. Like, I like to treat myself too, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, it's like, it's going way too far now. It's going way too far where people don't even understand what's real and what's not. You know what I mean? It's like you have a lot of people with a lot of followers and a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. But then you look at their actual business, and the business ain't doing nothing. They just have a very popular social media page. And it's like, it's people like me that I don't have a lot of, like, I have 30,000 some followers, but I don't really have a lot of followers. But then if you go check my numbers and look at, like, my Spotify numbers, and you see it's like a lot of people listening to me. So it's just like, I think people need to understand real versus like fake, in the sense of like it's some people that have, like, I swear, I know people that have an Instagram page, have like 500 followers, and they literally only 500 followers, but they got $1 million business on the side. You know what I mean? So it's like this whole, like, making the aesthetics, the visuals
don't always match, right? People, I think it's to speak to you. That's a great point that you make. You actually made several great points, 2 of which I wanted to speak to. The first one, I didn't even think about it the way that the way that you said it, was that you're constantly almost being unaware of someone else's state and then presenting like their destination to them constantly, almost sort of can really get envy out of them, right? To where you said it makes them. I never thought about it that way. And I've been in a lot of hoods. I've been in El Barrio. I've been in the Spanish Hood, like everywhere. So it's like, it's fascinating that you say it that way. That caught my attention. And then the second thing you say with respect to sort of a time that's really more around, because you and I are born, 2 years apart, so we're part of the same generation. But now, as we're entering the sort of social media individual page for everything, and I talked to everybody about this, like exactly what you said. It doesn't matter that I get to 1,000 followers. It's about what kind of work am I doing? Are the numbers correct? Am I leaving the right impact? That's what's important for me. It truly is. It's what's important. In the beginning, of course, you're like, it's a race to get to whatever, but then and then you slow that down, because you and I, like, again, we're both right around the same age. I'm 33, so it's like, I got kids, I got a family, so I'm thinking about, I'm like, it's not important. Like, that's not, when I die, someone's gonna add me. When I, like, it doesn't matter. Someone's gonna unfollow me it doesn't matter. What matters is what the impact is of what I'm doing in your craft, being the music. I think you sound like the most genuine of people in that industry, which is a massive community that I really really appreciate. It really is a fascinating thing.
My bad. One thing I want to say is, like, success is success. So success is success differently to, like, for each person. So it's just like, what's success for me might not be success for this person, but what successful, like, you know what I mean? Right. So it's certain things that we all agree is success. It's like, okay, we all see this and we see success, but it doesn't always, it's not always like, it's not like, and I think that's the biggest problem is people they see how someone else is living. And then if they're not living it that way, then they assume that they're not successful because I don't have what they have. And I think that's like the biggest problem. And it's like, no, that's like the biggest, because again, we know being in this industry, I've been in this industry long enough to know that it's a lot of people that they look successful, but not successful. And what I mean by that, like, yeah, they might actually have money and they have, yeah, they got money, they financially straight, but they don't have friends. They don't know how to keep a relationship. They don't have love in their life. And when you realize that the most important thing is having having people that you respect and love, and y'all respect and love each other,
right.
Food and shelter. That's it, man. For me, I just I make my music, and then okay, watching some movies with my wife. Okay, grocery store right around the corner. Like, what's better than that? It's like, what? Go grocery shopping, a minute away, come back home, watch a movie, make some music, and if anything, the music part is just like, that's just me sharing my gift with the world. You know what I mean? But I'm not making it bigger than what it is. Like, I'm just a human being. I love music. That's my craft, and that's how I make my money. And for whatever reason, certain industries, it's just what it is. Just music is this very kind of special thing. So, in sports too. So there's a chance you can be popular. So all someone famous is just someone famous. It's just a human that's known more than other humans. That's it. There's nothing special. They're no more special than this person that, it's this dude, man, that works at the grocery store. And every time
don't say his name.
I'm not gonna say, but yo, man, every time I go there, he be a G with them. Like, he loves his job. Like you get what I'm saying? And
the energy. Again, the energy,
how he does the bags, because he has his own little tricks with it. He be like trying to outdo himself. Like, I'm throw the bags in, and like when he packing the bags at the grocery store. And I always, like, for me, stuff like that always gets to me. It's just like, I just love when people just, whatever job that is, it don't have to be the most famous thing, but it's like, we're humans. We're all connected, so we all need each other. So it's like, his job is no more important than his job, and his job, we're all each other's angels in some type of way, in a weird way. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I just think it's important for everyone to understand. It's like you could be like it, like, I think the whole famous thing, it just, like I said, it just got out of control. Everybody, like, the fame is not what, like, you know what I mean? You just want to be successful, not famous. If fame comes with the success, then okay, cool. But realistically, what you think you want is not what you want. You just want to be successful. And I feel like that's like the biggest thing that people get.
I love the way you made those very different. That was a great explanation. That was really fantastic. So would it be fair to say that excellence doesn't reproduce itself the same way?
So, okay, so you know what? It's definitely, so I would say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna use my brother as an example. It's certain people. It's just what it is, man. You got James, you got your LeBrons, and you got people that just like, they're gonna do some exceptional stuff that just nobody would ever be able to touch and shit. So it's like that there is that excellence, but then there is like, it might not be excellence, but it's good work. And I think people sleep on that. It's like, yo, if someone's doing the best they can, it might not be the best at what it is, but my thing is, everything don't have to be the great. I gotta be like, for me, I just want to make some music that's fun and people connect with my vibe. That's it. Like, I
don't have to be the GOAT.
I don't have to be the GOAT. Like, yo, I just want to make, because my thing is like, what happens is you actually missing out on creativity, because every time you just like, don't get me wrong, it's cool to have the old competitive thing. I'm gonna be the best rapper, yeah, but I care more about making, that's just, I just want to make a good song that connects with people. That, I think that matters more than anything, because then it's really just a vibe, because again, all a vibe is vibration, and it's all about energy, man. So it's like, cool, best lyrics, nice. You know what I mean? What is this song talking about though? What does it do for me? That's all I really care about. As I get older, I just want a good vibe, man. It don't matter if it's lyrics, singing. Like, I'm super open when it comes to music. So it's like, I don't get so like purist in as far as like, what is the lyrics? And the only time I get that way is if it's like, like it's just when they actually are serious about it, and then it's not good. It's like they try to be so extra complex, and it's like, now you just saying a bunch of shit. But it's like I appreciate, like I honestly, like I'm in the perfect, I'm in a perfect line where it's like, old school hip hop and where the kids are at today. So it's like I understand both sides. I can honestly say I understand both sides. You know what I mean?
You can merge both of them essentially, right?
Oh yeah.
And just speaking back to your family, there was a line in this book again, Dilla Time by Dan Charnas, which is probably the most information you could ever get, and I think it was well deserved, and I was always wondering who was going to write about him, because I was like, if someone doesn't write about him, they're wrong. But it was a point. There was a part in the book that says James had absorbed 50 years of music by like age 9 or 10, because your house is so musical. What do you think about that line there?
Hey, that's because I can guarantee, I can literally, because it's me. So imagine he went through that, and I just went through it right after him. So
right. Okay.
Me growing up, my brother's 12 years apart from me. So I grew up on my generation and my brother's music. Generation of music. So, I grew up on Jodeci, like everything that my older siblings was listening to, I was listening to, plus what my parents were listening to. Right. So I grew up on Manhattan Transfers. Like when I mention Manhattan Transfers, you got to be like really like you love jazz vocalists and you love jazz so much that you wouldn't even know who that is and stuff. Right. But again, my dad was born in 1932, so it's like you get what I'm saying. So you got that and his coming all the way up to where me and James are. So yeah, that's real.
A lot of music. That's a lot of music.
That's 50 years of music, because you got my dad who's the general. Honestly, he's the dude. Like he's the dude. Like, you know what I mean. Gotcha. And then you have all his musical experience all the way up to James, and then James, his whole career, and then that's what I'm saying. I'm the same as that, because I'm basically absorbed all of that. So it's like I got my sister, my brother, and my dad and my mom. So it's like I'm learning stuff from James. I got my dad, and then my sister put me up on all the stuff, like Jodeci, Take 6, and all the stuff that the high school girls was listening to in the 90s. Like, I know all the R&B stuff. So like my music library and taste is like so broad because of that. So yeah, that's definitely.
So you and him are like similar in that statement. You feel you heard yourself in there when I said that. That's what's up, because I mean, obviously it wasn't written to like not put you in there. I just think that just that was the investigative take. Speaking to mom. Shout out to my Dukes. I haven't had a chance to talk with her, but she's I'm sure she's amazing. But I know she's classically trained. From what I read, I've YouTubed on a million interviews with her, watched her, really classy lady. You come from a really classy, distinct family. So it's, you can see that.
Appreciate that.
You can see that in how you carry, no, you really can see that in how you carry yourself as energy, like you were talking about earlier. I want to pause right here because there's going to be a part 2 to this. So I want you to hang on for me. All right, everybody, there's going to be a part 2. Stay tuned. All right, I'm going to just transfer us out real quick.